In the fading light of an autumn evening, Elena drove her battered old sedan down the winding road toward Eldridge Hollow. The GPS had long since lost signal, but the faded signpost at the fork assured her she was on the right path. Eldridge Hollow, population 147. She needed this escape. After the messy divorce and the soul-crushing job in the city, inheriting her estranged aunt's secluded cabin felt like a twisted gift from fate. Aunt Miriam had been a recluse, whispering about shadows that listen in her rare letters. Elena dismissed it as the ramblings of an old woman. Little did she know, those words would soon echo in her nightmares. The road narrowed, flanked by towering pines that clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest seemed to swallow the light whole. Elena's headlights pierced the gloom, revealing glimpses of fog curling around the trunks. She rolled down the window for fresh air, but a chill wind carried an unnatural whisper, faint, like distant voices murmuring secrets. She shook it off as the wind planned tricks and cranked up the radio, only to find static buzzing through every station. "Great," she muttered, gripping the wheel tighter. Finally, the cabin emerged from the mist, a weathered log structure with a sagging porch and ivy choking the walls. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years, yet a single lantern flickered in the window, as if welcoming her. Elena parked and stepped out, her boots crunching on fallen leaves. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like old blood. She unlocked the door with the key from the lawyer's envelope and stepped inside. The interior was a time capsule, dusty furniture draped in sheets, shelves lined with yellowed books on folklore and occult symbols. A framed photo on the mantel showed Aunt Miriam, her eyes wide and haunted, standing before a gnarled oak tree in the backyard. She shivered, attributing it to the draft. She unpacked quickly, lit a fire in the hearth, and poured herself a glass of wine from her travel bag. As the flames danced, she heard it again, a soft whisper, emanating from the walls themselves. "Welcome home," it seemed to say. She froze, heart pounding. "Just the wind," she whispered back, but doubt crept in like the shadows lengthening across the room. That night, sleep eluded her. The bed creaked under her weight, and the cabin groaned like a living thing. Around midnight, the whispers returned, clearer now. They weren't words at first, just a susurrus, like leaves rustling in a breeze that didn't exist. Elena sat up, straining to listen. "Elena, stay." The voice was feminine, ethereal, laced with desperation. She bolted from bed, flicking on the light, but the bulb fizzled out with a pop. In the darkness, she swore she saw shapes moving in the corners, elongated shadows that twisted unnaturally, defying the fire's glow. Morning brought relief, or so she thought. Sunlight streamed through the grimy windows, banishing the night's terrors. Elena decided to explore the town for supplies and perhaps some answers about her aunt. Eldridge Hollow was a speck on the map, a cluster of clapboard houses huddled around a crumbling church and a general store. As she parked on the main street, if you could call that a dirt road, locals glanced her way with hollow eyes. An old man in overalls nodded from his rocking chair on the store porch. "You Miriam's kin?" he rasped, his voice like gravel. "I'm Elena," she replied, forcing a smile. "Just settling in?" He chewed on a toothpick, eyeing her. "Best not dig too deep round here. Shadows got ears." His words mirrored her aunt's letters, sending a chill down her spine. Inside the store, the clerk, a wiry woman named Clara, rang up her groceries with trembling hands. "Heard the whispers yet?" Clara asked casually, as if discussing the weather. Elena's blood ran cold. "What whispers?" Clara leaned in, her breath sour. "The ones that call from the old oak. Started after the fire in '92. Burned half the town, but that tree, it survived. Folks say it's cursed. Roots fed on the dead. Your aunt knew too much." She slid the bag across the counter. "Stay inside after dark, girl." Elena drove back unsettled, her mind racing. The old oak in the photo, it loomed in her backyard, its branches like veins pulsing with life. She resolved to ignore the superstitions. Small towns thrived on tall tales. But as dusk fell, the whispers intensified. They wove through the cabin, recounting fragments of stories, a child's laughter cut short, a lover's betrayal, screams from a blazing inferno. Elena barricaded herself in the living room, phone in hand, but there was no signal. Desperate, she rifled through Aunt Miriam's books, finding a journal tucked behind a shelf. The entries were frantic scribbles. "The shadows whisper the town's sins," Miriam wrote. "They started after I found the relic under the oak, a stone etched with ancient runes. It awakens them at night, hungry for more secrets. They feed on fear, twisting it into madness." Sketches accompanied the words, shadowy figures with elongated limbs, eyes like voids. The last entry, "They're coming for me. Elena, if you read this, burn it all." Terror gripped me. I grabbed a flashlight and ventured outside, the beam cutting through the fog toward the oak. The tree was massive, its bark scarred like burned flesh. At its base, a loose patch of earth beckoned. Kneeling, she dug with her hands, nails caking with dirt. Inches down, her fingers struck something hard, a flat stone inscribed with swirling symbols that seemed to writhe in. As she lifted it, the whispers exploded into a cacophony. "Mine, ours, join us." Shadows detached from the tree, slithering toward her like ink and water. Elena dropped the stone and ran, but tendrils of darkness wrapped around her ankles, pulling her down. She screamed, clawing at the ground, but the shadows whispered her own secrets back to her. The affair that shattered her marriage, the lies she had told her family, the guilt she buried deep. In a surge of adrenaline, she broke free and stumbled back to the cabin, slamming the door. The shadows pressed against the windows, faces forming in the glass, distorted visages of the townsfolk, their eyes pleading or accusing. "They trap souls," Miriam's journal had said. "The fire wasn't an accident, it was a sacrifice to appease them." Elena realized the truth. Eldridge Hollow wasn't just haunted, it was a prison for the damned, and the oak was the warden. She spent the night huddled by the fire, the journal her only companion. As dawn broke, the shadows retreated, but Elena knew it was temporary. She had to destroy the stone. Arming herself with an axe from the shed, she returned to the oak under the pale morning light. The stone lay where she dropped it, humming faintly. With a cry, she swung the axe, shattering it into fragments. A deafening wail erupted, and the ground trembled as shadows burst forth, coiling around the tree like a storm. The oak cracked, roots upheaving from the earth, revealing skeletal remains tangled in their grasp. Victims of the fire, perhaps, or older horrors. Elena backed away as the tree collapsed in a thunderous crash, shadows dissipating into wisps of smoke. Silence fell.
broken only by her ragged breaths. But as she turned to leave, a final whisper caressed her ear. "We can't escape us. We're inside now." Elena glanced at her reflection in a puddle. Her eyes held a glimmer of void, a shadow lurking within. She drove out of Eldridge Hollow that day, but the whispers followed, growing louder with each mile. In motel mirrors, she saw them, tendrils in her veins, waiting to consume. Years later, travelers speak of a woman wandering the roads, muttering to herself about listening shadows. And in Eldridge Hollow, the population sign reads 146, one less, or perhaps one more, depending on how you count the whispers.